But we're going to start with a story which I think goes beyond what happens on the pitch. It's the fact David Ornstein in The Athletic reporting on Monday that Liverpool Football Club, they're circulating decks among investors. They've engaged Goldman Sachs and Morgan Stanley, I believe, ostensibly to sell the club. Now, Liverpool came back and said, well, we received expression of interest. We're looking for investors, blah, blah, blah. But this is pretty huge, which is why we're talking about this and not the fact that Liverpool's C team went out and needed penalties to beat Derby County.
Yeah, true. They needed penalties to start with the game, the football. Quavin Kelleher in goal. Yeah. Again, amazing in the penalty shootout. He's won 4 penalty shootout in 18 games, I think.
That's an amazing stat.
It's an amazing ratio, the best ever in Liverpool history as a goalkeeper. All of that was great. The kids got to play. We saw a few talented ones. And in the end, they qualified. This is most important. Now, the sale. Because is it for you a sale? Is it for you new investors selling a few shares of the club? Is it a bit of both? Is it what FSG as Fenway Group are saying, like, well, let's see what's coming our way now. We're testing the water, as the English like to say.
So there's a couple things I think going on here. First and foremost, all those long lists of like, potential investors, people actually put out odds. Is it Stephen Pagliuca? Is it the Saudi media group? Is it Jim Ratcliffe? Ignore all that because I don't think we're anywhere near that stage. I think one of the single most important things to consider, which I think is actually kind of underreported right now, is that right now there is that Super League case in front of the European Court of Justice. We expect a preliminary verdict just before the World Cup final, towards the end of December, and then we expect a definitive verdict in the weeks or months following that. Now, obviously, if the verdict goes the Super League's way, the Super League case brought by Real Madrid, Juventus, and Barcelona, the value of Liverpool goes up tremendously. It may not be 3 billion or whatever number they chuck around. It could be 10 billion instantaneously because that is a complete game changer. So, whereas if they lose, the value of Liverpool doesn't really change because we kind of have the status quo. So if I'm selling you this pen, Jules, and I know that there is a chance that in 2 months this pen will be worth 10 times or 5 times what it is worth now, I'm not going to sell it to you. I'm not sell it to you quickly, right?
Exactly.
I think that's one big factor to consider. I do not expect anything happening quickly. I think the other big question is the fact that this came out so publicly, because we saw Chelsea. They denied it. Now we know that they were up for sale like 3 years before. Not up for sale. They were willing to entertain offers, which is, let's face it, this is where Liverpool are now. And yet they weren't actually circulating decks. Now people say, well, for people who don't know, an investment deck is basically, it's like a business plan. It's like a proposal of
with
usually
figures
quite detailed with figures, projections, and so on, how they calculate their value, whatever. To print physical copies, and Ornstein got his hands on one of these, and it means that they're not exactly moving very secretly about this.
No, they wanted this to be known, clearly.
They definitely, I think, wanted this to be known.
They've been there 12 years. You can understand why, whether it's a full sale or just investment and part ownership, whatever. You can understand why they're seeking this for the good of Liverpool Football Club.
And, well, for their good as well.
Yeah,
for their own good, right?
But right now the club needs an investment, needs more money to be able to compete with.
Well, and I think that in some ways is the elephant in the room, right? Obviously, these are very, very wealthy men. They look at the landscape around Europe. They look at how much faith do we have in cost controls and the ability of the game to regulate itself. Not from a competitive balance standpoint. It's not about keeping the cartel. It's about keeping costs low so that people who are investors can actually make money off it. Because, look, I don't think I'm revealing a secret. Paris Saint-Germain and Manchester City. Saudi, we don't know yet.
Yeah.
Whatever they say now about being profitable with investments, but over the years, they have obviously put in a lot of money, which in terms of bottom line return, bottom line dollar return, they did not get back. So they lost money for many years, right?
They will never get back unless they sell.
Yeah, and they can say we got them back in terms of image, soft power, whatever. I don't want to get into that argument, right? But the point is, Henry and Warner, people at FSG, they're not interested in soft power. They're interested in delivering some kind of return.
Of course.
So the question is, are they low? Are they not where they want to be? Obviously, we've gone into a recession.
Yeah.
is this why they're doing it?
Maybe they bought the club for what, 400 million? Was it 12 years ago? If they sell it for 3 billion now, I mean, that's an incredible profit. And those people are finance people. This is what they do. They investment people. So the return is crazy.
Well, thank you very much for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming, premium content, and let's not forget as well, ESPN FC 7 days a week. Subscribe to ESPN Plus.